Hey guys, this is KE from Artful Impersonator, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make Aradia Megado style horns. These can also work for ram's horns, pretty much, in any cosplay. You'll start out with your supplies. I'll use aluminum foil for the center, and the rest of the supplies are the same as in our Carcat horn tutorial video. You're also going to want scotch tape with your tin foil for making these sort of horns. You'll want to pull a piece out that's about a foot, maybe a foot and a couple inches long. However long you want the twist on your horns to be, but this is a good basic judge. And you're going to crumple it up into a nice, long, and very tight stick. Basically, you will want it squished down as far as it'll possibly go to give you a nice firm base. You don't want the foil to be able to squish any further. It's going to start out skinny, but don't worry because we're going to add layers later to make it a little thicker. Make sure you curl it and kind of judge whether or not the horns are going to be the size you want them or you need them longer or shorter. Get you a second piece of aluminum foil about the same length for your second horn and repeat the same process. You're going to want to kind of decide where your tip and your base is going to be ahead of time so that one end is slightly pointier and more twisted than the other side, which you're going to make thicker as the base of the horn. And just kind of smash that down there. Make sure both of your horns are the same length here. Point to point. And then you're going to start building layers of aluminum foil on top of these. Now, you will definitely want to add more foil towards one side than the other. So kind of crumple it in. And don't add a whole lot to the tip and add extra to the base. So that you get kind of this nice tapered look. There you go. Make sure you squeeze it very, very tightly so that you don't get any breakage once you have added clay to it. After about the second layer is when you're going to want to build your curve, because otherwise it's going to be a little too hard for you to do that. So go ahead and curve your ram's horns or Aradia horns as twisted as you'd like them to go. And do that for the second horn as well. Make sure you always do the same step for each horn. That way you don't get ahead of yourself with one and end up having to try and make them symmetrical later. Add a bunch of layers until you've got something smooth and just a tiny bit less thick than you want it in the end. You don't want to have to add a lot of Sculpey on top of it to make it as thick as you want, because if you do, your horns will end up extremely heavy. So make sure you've got it almost as thick as you want it at this point, and the exact curve you'd like it to look. And there you go. It's best to double check them mirrored to each other, because that way you don't end up with one janky ass horn sticking out. Now you're going to get your scotch tape out. Surprisingly enough, at 250 degrees, which is what Sculpey bakes at, scotch tape actually doesn't melt in the oven. I can't say the same for any other types of tape, but what you're going to want to do is roll that around the base of your horn. And once it's latched to itself and stuck to itself, pull it as tight as possible so that it really flattens out the foil. And just start wrapping it in a circle around your horn. This may take a couple of tries, so don't get discouraged, and you just kind of go all the way along your horn right to the tip. It'll make a nice smooth surface and make them almost impossible to bend. Now work your polymer clay, your Sculpey, with your hands until it is nice and soft. For more tips about this, check out the Carcat horns tutorial video. And roll that into kind of a flattish piece. And you'll add these flattish pieces one at a time and build them on over your horn base. So flatten them out a little, smooth them on till you've kind of covered the entire thing. There you go. Make sure you smooth out any lumps or cracks you have in the clay. This stuff smooths pretty easily just with fingertips. Now, once you have both horns done, you're going to want to take your headband. Now, your best bet is to look in a mirror and measure it on yourself, unless your head is the exact same size as your wig head, and have marked off where exactly you want your horns to be at. Be careful if you're doing this with unbaked horns. Then you will take your unbaked horn and place it on your headband where you're going to want it to be. Press it down so that the headband makes a dent in the horn, so that you know exactly where you're going to glue it once you have baked it. You don't want to end up putting them too far forward or too far behind. Right over the center of the headband is the best place for these kind of horns. That way they don't end up tipping off of your head. You'll see you'll have an indent where you're going to want to glue it. That will be extremely helpful later. And you will do the same with the other side. I would recommend holding both up while you do that to make sure that you once again don't have a janky horn sticking out the opposite direction. And there you go. Now, once you've made horns like this, they can end up feeling a little bit too round. And you can always just add clay to them to smooth them out and make them fit a little better against your head, looking more like horns that are growing out of your head rather than horns on a headband. It just helps with blending. They tuck underneath wigs better and generally create a better look. See, that'll look nice, flash up against the inside of a wig. So you can once again smooth that out with your fingertips, and you're going to want to bake these in the oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. You can set them on a cookie sheet. I would recommend putting foil on it. Like the car count horns tutorial video, we're going to use 3 colors of paint and paint an entire base coat of the middle yellow on the whole horn and allow it to dry. Then orange for the part closest to the head. And, well, the paint was giving me difficulties. The pale yellow closest to the tip of the horn. For Aradia specifically, she only has a little bit of orange and a little bit of pale yellow, and her horns are mostly the middle yellow. Just a nice pro tip there. So go for it. Painty, painty, paint. Now, I made a little piece of extra clay that fits to the back of my headband because of the type of headband that I was using. That butts right up against it and kind of clasps around my headband. And you're just gonna, if you use that method, you're gonna line those up and glue them together with E6000 or hot glue or super glue. It depends on your headband type and what you think is going to be the best way to attach them to it, but this can be a really easy way to do that. It just kind of clamps around there. I paint all sides of my horns because that way if they are seen even the littlest bit underneath a wig, they don't show up as some awkward color. And there you go, there is your finished Aradia horns. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe for more cosplay tutorials. Thank you!